Hello everyone, this is Lenny Della Rocca with South Florida Poetry Journal along with Michael Mack and O'Mara. We're here today as part of the Miami Book Fair interviewing Maureen, Seaton and Neil Della Flor, who are co-editors of the anthology Reading Queer Poetry in a Time of Chaos. Maureen and Neil, thanks for coming and spend some time with us.
Happy to be here.
I wanted to start by asking you guys, and I think kind of when we were off the mic before, saying something about how this all started. Whose idea was it to sort of to put this together, to do this anthology? Was it you both son of?
No one's idea. It just happened.
It just happened.
I think we have to go back a little further. You two have been working together on projects for a very long time.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like 2005,
Oh.
2006.
What was, no, 2004 or 5, because it was
That's
a
true.
hurricane.
2004.
Which hurricane was, Francis?
Francis.
Hurricane
Oh.
Francis. We actually roomed together at, I think it was Francis, and there was a whole bunch of them in
Yeah.
there, but we roomed together at Neil's house, because I was on a barrier island, so,
Oh,
so I came in and we started writing, because
cool.
we were kind of stranded. We were hunkered down.
You were hunkered down.
And we decided to collaborate.
And when you say collaborate, was that on specific poems or an anthology or a book?
No,
or
poems.
On poems,
Yeah,
okay.
just see what came out.
Okay. And so then when Reading Queer came about, did you, I guess this comes on the heels of all the other collaborations and discussions and whatever you guys were doing. So one of you said, you know what? Is that what happened? Or
Christine
Yeah.
Snodgrass,
Okay.
who is the publisher,
Mhm.
one of the new publishers
At Anhinga?
At Anhinga,
Yeah.
invited us to do it. She
Really?
said, how would you like to do it? Was there anything before that day? I think that's all I remember.
I don't recall.
We were sitting on
We're on Lincoln Road.
Lincoln Road,
Okay.
sitting there with Jay Snodgrass and
Right,
Christine, and
right.
she said, I had an idea for the press. Would you guys like to do it? And we're like, sure.
wow,
I
that's
think
great.
that was the first.
Yeah, I don't think we had the idea of doing an anthology.
And so when that came about and you said, sure, we'll do it, what happened next? Did you start contacting poets that you knew or heard about, or how did that work out? How did you do that?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think didn't we wait a little bit of time, or did we start right away?
I don't know.
It's been like a multi-year process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been a decade.
Yeah,
But I know we kind of made a plan of who we wanted to reach out to.
We did. We wanted diversity. That was
Right.
like our big thing, and across gender,
Sure.
across race, across culture, everything.
and there is that.
We tried.
Yeah, there is that
We
for
wish there
sure.
could be more, but
Yeah,
we did try, and so we invited people. It was all
Mhm.
by invitation.
wow.
And made lists, and
Yeah, we made a list.
Who said no? Did anybody say no?
nobody said no. But some people didn't get back to us though at all.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that happens.
Nobody actually said no.
How many poets are in here?
50.
50, yeah. I was at AWP when there was a reading there, and I ended up getting the anthology there. And it was just an incredible experience. I mean, there was just so many great poets who were there. And then I know this has been circulating. I know there's been a reading out in LA of this anthology, wasn't
Mhm,
there?
yeah.
Kathleen Chambliss and others out
Ching
in-
and
Copy
Chen
that,
and-
yeah.
and New Orleans, I think.
So Kathleen,
Simmons.
Kathleen and I think Caridad went to
Car-
New
yeah.
Orleans with anthology.
Right.
Then they were also in Los Angeles, and Lamar also participated.
Mhm.
So Lamar, Kathleen, and Caridad participated, and Chen and Jin.
And Kevin Simmons.
Kevin
He was one of
Simmons.
the organizers too.
Okay. And then, of course,
And that
down
was
here.
for Lambda.
Yes.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And then in South Florida, I think there was just one recently, another one, right?
So we had the Betsy reading,
Right.
and then we had the Stonewall reading,
I was at that one, I
which
think.
you
yeah.
were at.
Right,
and
Michael was there.
I don't remember when that was.
It's been 6 months ago or
Really?
something, well, 4, 5, 6 months ago,
I
I
don't know.
think.
Really?
Yeah.
It was last semester? Wow.
I don't go by
was fine.
semesters.
I think it
I
was
don't know what a
I think it was
semester.
during the summer, no? Or was it
Probably, yeah,
or the end of May?
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It was a great
It
reading. though.
happened.
It was a great reading. You moderated it, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Were you there? I know I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
No.
Neil was, Michael was. Well, what I'd like to do, and what we tip. Oh, by the way, you're going to be reading at the Miami Book Fair. So we are reading what day and what time are you going to be reading?
Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
the 18th at 10:30.
And are you going to be with other poets, or it's just you two, or?
It's 2 other anthologies. It's actually an anthology panel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's three anthologies. One is Brian Clements.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall the name of the other.
Is it a
Panels.
discussion panel with a Q&A and then a reading, or just a reading, or do you know?
They didn't tell us.
No?
I think
Okay.
we can kind of do what we want.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to do all of that.
All right, good, yeah.
And dance. Yeah.
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 I don't know if we're going to be able to be there, because Sunday we're going to probably be tied up, but good luck with that. And you know
Certainly
what?
at 10:30 in the morning, you should be tied up elsewhere.
I think we're interviewing.
Oh, you
We've
are?
got like a whole
Okay.
bunch of folks lined up to interview on that day. But remember before I was telling them to ask you guys to read something, so why don't we go ahead and do that? I think you picked something out, Maureen?
We did. We're going to read it in tandem.
Cool.
It's by Celeste Gainey, and it's called More, Less. More gay than queer, more queer than lesbian, less lesbian than girl, more girl than woman, less woman than man, more boy than bi, less bi than butch, more butch than dyke,
Then more dyke than trans, less trans than faggot, more fag than bulldagger, more bulldagger than top, less top than bottom, least top, no top, more bottom, less S, more M, more bottom, less homo, more sexual.
That's great.
It looks like that. It's very
I,
simple.
yeah, that's got a great rhythm to it, and I'm not sure if she read that when I saw her at AWP, or the gaffer. Wasn't there one called the gaffer?
Yes.
Because she is a
Yeah.
gaffer.
Yes.
She works on film.
She is.
Yeah. That was really cool.
Yeah.
That's a great poem. Did anything strike you guys when you started receiving the submissions? Were there anything that sort of like, wow, look at this kind of a thing, or were they all that great, or is there anything that you want to speak about in terms of, the poems themselves? I know we talked about diversity and stuff.
Well, the poems had all come in, were starting to come in right around the election 2 years ago.
Right.
And so for me, the experience of reading them as they came in was incredibly emotional. I felt sustained by the work that I was receiving, and I felt heartbroken by much of it. It was both traumatic to read the poetry that we were receiving, and also a healing at the same time. It was a very
Yeah.
intense period. So it just happened that way. We invited people a year before, but that's when the poems all came in, and that's when we were able to sit down and read them. So
everything kind of coalesced because they were so timely, a lot of them,
yeah,
because of what was going on. And I mean, poetry in a time of chaos kind of says that. I mean, when you talk about that election, I mean, that's the first thing you think of, is that chaos, just the craziness and the disbelief. And I kind of feel like you talked about healing, but there was that, but I also sensed anger and other types of feelings. It was just like a chaotic, like a volcano of things going on in all of the poems. And I also felt that there was this sort of release, not only healing, but this sort of this voice to unleash, to let go of. These are like voices sort of taking a stand, is the way I kind of thought of them when I was reading them.
For me, it's like the diversity of voices and the diversity of emotions.
Yeah.
There are the expansive emotions, like
Yeah.
the anger, the sadness, also the joy and heartbreak and suffering and happiness.
Yeah.
And for me, it's we were talking about this on the drive up here, about the timelessness of the poems.
Yeah.
Even though they kind of started coming in before the election, right? And we asked even before the election happened, and we were talking about in the car how there's always going to be chaos.
Yeah.
Even if we have the perfect president, there's always going to be someone somewhere pushing back against queer people.
Sure.
So for me, it just speaks to the constant, ongoing, I don't want to call it struggle, but fight, progression forward.
Sure.
Is always going to happen.
Yeah, but it is a struggle. I mean,
Yeah.
And it's been a struggle. Michael, do you want to add anything or ask them anything?
Well, first, congratulations on the cover photo. I noticed it was yours.
So
Nicely
beautiful.
done.
Thank you.
Is that, I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Yeah. The wonderful thing about it is I'm more of I like to hear poetry. And so I've had the good fortune of seeing my mother's Vanity performed, right here, or listen to Lori in a couple of places. Do you have another reading? Are you continuing a reading tour, or what are you doing with continuing to publicize the book at this point?
Nothing additionally planned yet,
Okay.
but
I
we'll let you
think
know.
something may come out of the book fair, though.
I would think
Well,
so.
That's
yeah.
our next,
Yeah.
have a feeling.
Well, I will say that it's still up in there. We were trying to develop some sort of performance piece that emerges from the book,
Uh-huh.
but it's like in the early stages. It may not go in that direction. I don't want to say too much
Yeah.
because I don't know
Sure.
what's going to happen.
Right.
But there's something that we hope to develop out of the book, at least inspired by the book in some way.
I take it all these were unpublished before when they sent them into you, or were
No.
did you do any reprints or?
Some reprints
Some were
from
reprints.
people's books.
Okay,
Yeah, and some
Okay.
reprints from other journals
gotcha.
as well, yeah.
Okay,
A lot of them were new, though. I was surprised how many new ones came in.
yeah.
So it was a good mix, I think.
Let's see, I went to the one in Lauderdale, the Stonewall, and I was at AWP. And I want to throw out Julie Marie, Kathleen, Carrie Dodd, and a newer poet that I never met before, read her work before, who is now in the journal. I don't know if it's this issue or the last, but Tara Burke.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Tara
wow.
Shea Burke.
Yeah, great
Another
poet.
Coloradan. Well, at the moment.
Yeah, Jericho Brown was there. But it was
Well,
really
you mentioned Greg Shapiro's piece earlier, too.
Greg Shapiro, of
Yeah.
course, absolutely. I see him on Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
He's a character. Love Greg. All right, well, I'll ask you to read another poem if you guys want to pick something out and read. I don't know if you want to read that real quick one in the first. Tell the story about how that was a great, when you mentioned that before, I thought, that should be on camera.
Are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you sure that's not for your ears only?
No,
I
this
was
is.
wondering how that poem became the first.
So I'll ask the question, Maureen. How did you decide to? How did you choose the order of the poems in the anthology?
Oh,
Funny you should ask.
Funny that you should ask that. Well, I think that Neil said to me, go for the order, whatever
Right.
you want to do, and then I was going to run it by him.
Big mistake.
And I know he always says yes to everything I ask,
Cool.
so I knew whatever I did was fine. But this poem just seemed like the first poem. I wanted this poem first. And so,
And it's
The
a very
poets-
long poem.
yeah, it's the longest one in the book.
Yeah.
One line and a little piece. And the author happens to begin with the letter A, his first name. And I have seen other anthologies that start, and see, my last name is Seaton. Do you know what it's like to be last, like your whole life?
Toward the end, yeah.
But if it was Maureen, I'd at least be in the middle.
Sure.
So I thought of that, and I thought, you, de la Flor, you're always up there in the beginning, you wouldn't understand. So I asked if it was okay that we did from A on the first names.
Sure.
And therefore, Aaron could go first. Aaron Smith's poem, Census, John.
You picked it. I knew you were going to do that. Because everybody probably thinks I selected that poem.
Well, so what if they do? Okay, so I read this poem proudly. Aaron, this is for you. It's called Census, and then in parentheses, John, Jon. In a city of 4 million cocks, yours.
Boom.
I mean, come on. How
That's
could we
the,
not
what do they call
start
that?
the book
Drop the
with that?
mic?
You just drop it.
Right? That's great.
So when you pick up the book at the bookstore, you know exactly what you're getting into.
Absolutely.
I just,
On the first page.
I just love
Well, the title kind of gives it away
Yeah,
too a little bit.
but-
A little
And
bit.
it worked. If it had, if it hadn't worked, but the rest of his
Sure.
pieces followed.
Well,
and
did
then
that, did any of the, I mean, I've read the anthology, so I think I already know the answer, but was there any sort of inkling of an idea in terms of censorship, something that you wouldn't publish? Okay, I didn't think so.
Hell no.
Okay. I didn't
Well,
think so.
like murdering women or.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that's a point.
Yeah.
There's that.
Oh, we didn't get anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't
We
think
didn't
we
get
would.
anything that I.
Violent or,
Yeah,
yeah,
nothing.
right,
No, there was,
okay.
it was just hard to choose from.
Yeah.
We told people to send a lot. What did
Yeah.
I say, like 10 pages or 20 pages or something?
Yeah.
So you both, did you guys both read all the submissions and then kind of whittled them out that way, or did you read some and you'd read some and then threw them into all the yeses together, or
I think
something
Maureen
like
did most of the work.
I did
Oh,
most
did
of
you?
that. I did most of that part.
That
that?
part.
Okay,
That particular part. It was kind of divided into different sections
Okay.
of work. But
okay,
at that point, I was available.
all right,
And of course, Neil knew what was going on and said yes to,
yeah,
I mean, we pretty much say yes. We trust each other.
Yeah.
We work really well together.
okay,
And so anything that I wanted to do, he would say yes to. Anything that he wanted to do, I would say. We made a plan for how we wanted the book
right,
to be. And so I knew what he wanted and what I wanted, and I just followed that as I was choosing the work.
mm-hmm,
And you were really happy.
Yeah. I mean, I knew I wanted what she wanted because I trust her
yeah,
very
we-
much.
sure.
We have kind of the same brain in a way.
Well, you have the same sensibilities and that kind of, right, like minds kind of a thing. Neil, are you working on anything now that, or you have a book coming out, or are you working on a collection on your own
Good
right now?
question. No.
No?
No, I'm trying to working on something new. I've been trying to write like a bunch of like little essays,
Mm.
little
Yeah, you have
short.
lots,
Yeah, I have not. No.
Do you write fiction at all?
I would say more memoir.
Okay, oh,
More
yeah.
memoir.
Big thing these days, lots of folks doing memoirs.
Memoir. I mean, it becomes fictionalized. I mean,
Mm.
I guess you could say also fiction.
Yeah,
But basically, I'm trying to get back on track.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Maureen? Oh, I'm sorry, you got something?
Well, that's just part of the sacrifice that you make when you take on a project,
Yeah.
like the Reading Queer project. It doesn't stop at the anthology, you still have this ongoing thing.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of planning and like budgeting and paying some bills and raising some money,
Exactly.
which we have to be doing this week. So yes, it becomes a lot of good energy, but it's energy that goes away from me and not focused on me.
Right.
So yeah, so it kind of pulls a lot
Cool.
out.
And Maureen, the same to you. Are you working on anything right now, a collection or
Um,
stories or poems, or what are you doing right now?
I'm working on poems. I just started again. I have a kind of a blocked period, I guess,
Yeah.
for the last year or so. But I have a new book coming out in the winter called Sweet World,
Oh, cool.
and I'm excited about that.
Who's the
And
press?
Cavan Carey,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, so that's exciting. And I just started working on some new stuff recently.
Great, great.
Yeah.
SoFloPoJo is always available for
I
both of you
know.
guys.
Thank you for taking my work.
Oh,
As much as
absolutely.
you do.
You guys, anytime you want to send stuff in to us, I don't know if Michael wants to cut this part out, but. So, my fun question, and this is to the two of you, Michael alluded it, mentioned it before, but Lennon and McCartney.
I'm a Libra. You don't ask a Libra to choose.
You're both? So,
Plus-
so both,
Plus,
George.
I'm, in the 60s. I'm like genuine. You can't say Lennon or McCartney. You can.
I hear you.
Can I say Madonna?
I'm not going to stop you.
You know who Lennon and McCartney are.
From Russia? Like who's that?
Yeah,
guy?
L-E-N-I-N?
We got the same response from Richard Blanco. He was like, "We talking about communism?"
When I was 16, it was McCartney.
Okay.
As I got older, it was Lennon.
Yeah, I think I was
And
the same way,
And now I
actually.
really wouldn't have to want to
Yeah,
choose.
I hear that,
Love
I
it.
hear that. Well, unless there's, did you want to read something else? Read one more poem.
Oh, okay. What should we read?
Whatever you want.
Do you want to pick one this time?
What about the other Celeste poem?
Let's do someone else.
Okay.
I could-
I'd ask you to read but it's just too long, but it just knocked me over when he read it. Was it Sam Ace? Oh, God, was
It
that
could be
good.
Sam. But you know, what about Kevin Simmons?
Sure.
Sure.
No, I feel bad. I'm not going to read Sam. Oh, I don't know. I'm there again.
We'll do Kevin's.
Kevin's?
Or Lori's.
Lori's. I could read Lori's.
Let's have a drum roll.
Obviously, we need to do a few.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Did you have anything in mind when you were coming up, thinking that you were going to read anything? There
So
was-
that one Celeste Gainey piece.
Okay,
we
good.
thought of.
Good.
Did you bring any of your new book?
No.
Oh, okay.
What about the Coley Driscoll?
Sure.
Wait, let's read Kevin Simmons.
Okay.
Let's read
This
this.
one, sermon?
This is a serious one.
Okay.
You want to do the first part?
It's called Sermon. Kevin writes a lot about religion. So. It's too simple for most. Our cellular bodies are prosthetic to spirit, irrefutable illusion of God and monster, wing and hangnail. We are four-limbed embers. Mostly it's recovery. Take the cliche of a child whose need for an absent father unearths an appetite for damage. This is the beginning of the gospel. Before he had hair on his balls, he'd pled for deliverance. Some clapboard apostle shouted the demon names of what afflicts, while that boy coughed into brown paper bags to expel his homosexuality. He retched until his stomach and sides ached.
The prayer should not always begin, Our Father. Not every two bodies will create children. It's not that they are without string, key, or hammer. Some are woodwinds, their music of erotic conclusions. Let the breath pass through them. You do not control the wind. The body doesn't know religion, but begins its every motion as a god.